What happens when a monster, forged in silence and violence, finally hears a song he recognizes? Does he crush the songbird, or does he burn the world to keep it singing? Damien Blackwood exists in a world of polished surfaces and muffled screams. His office is a cathedral of chrome and smoked glass, perched atop a city that whispers his name in fear. He wears bespoke suits the color of midnight, tailored to conceal not just the perfection of his form, but the chilling stillness of his soul. He moves through life like a shark through water, silent, efficient, and leaving a trail of blood only visible to those who know where to look. Power is not something he seeks. It is an element he breathes, an extension of his will. Men with empires twice his size tremble when he enters a room, because they have wealth, but he possesses an unnerving emptiness, a void where fear is supposed to live. Today he is dismantling a man's legacy over a single sheet of paper. The man, a portly figure named Alistair Finch, sweats through his $1,000 shirt, his face the color of spoiled cream. His empire was built on a lie, a betrayal against Damien's interests, and now it is being unmade with the quiet click of a fountain pen. Damien does not raise his voice. He never does. His words are low, precise, each one a perfectly placed scalpel severing a vital artery. You believed I would not notice a discrepancy of 3%. You believed the ghost in my machine was a flaw in the system. You were mistaken. It was me. Finch sputters, a litany of excuses and pleas. Damien watches him, his eyes the color of a frozen lake, betraying nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just a profound, tectonic disinterest. He is a force of nature, an earthquake, and one does not reason with an earthquake. One simply gets consumed by it. His enforcer, Julian, stands by the door, a mountain of a man carved from granite and loyalty. Julian is the only being whose presence Damien tolerates without condition. He is silent, his gaze fixed, his existence a promise of swift, brutal finality should his master command it. Damien signs the last document, transferring the last of Finch's assets into a holding company that will dissolve them by dawn. The man is ruined. His life's work is ash. Damien rises, adjusting his cuffs. Julian will see you out. I suggest you leave the city. The continent would be better. It is not a threat. It is a weather forecast. He walks through his penthouse, a sterile expanse of white marble and black leather. There are no photographs, no clutter, no life. It is less a home than a monument to absence. The only warmth, the only deviation from this perfect cold order comes from a single room at the end of the hall. His daughter's room. Lily. She is 6 years old, with hair like spun moonlight, and her mother's eyes. Her mother, Elena, was the only color in Damien's monochromatic world, a supernova of laughter and light, and her death during a rival's attack had not broken his heart. It had scooped it out, leaving a hollow chasm that echoed with her absence. Lily has not spoken a word since that day. She lives in a world of silence, a fragile ghost haunting the edges of his gilded prison. He provides her with the best of everything: tutors, therapists, toys that cost more than cars. But he cannot give her the one thing she needs: a connection. He does not know how. The language of tenderness is foreign to him, a dialect he lost long ago. He watches her through a one-way mirror, a habit born of paranoia and a desperate, clumsy sort of love. She sits on the floor, arranging porcelain dolls in a perfect, silent circle. She is his one vulnerability, the single exposed wire in his fortress of a life. And he protects her with the same chilling efficiency with which he destroys his enemies. Miles away, in a part of the city Damien's car never even passes through, Elara Vance is counting coins. The pile on her worn kitchen table is pitiful. Not enough for rent, not enough for the medicine, definitely not enough for both. Her world is the opposite of Damien's. It is a landscape of peeling paint, flickering fluorescent lights, and the constant, grinding anxiety of poverty. Her hands are chapped. Her uniform as a diner waitress smells of grease and bleach, and her shoes have a hole in the sole she covers with cardboard. She is invisible, one of the countless faces that blur into the background of the city, a ghost of a different sort. But in her small, crumbling apartment, she is a warrior. She is the sole protector of her younger brother, Liam, whose lungs are failing, whose breath is a constant, rattling reminder of her race against time. The eviction notice is taped to the door, its stark red letters a scream in the quiet desperation of her life. She looks at Liam, asleep on the pull-out sofa, his face pale, his breathing shallow. A fierce, protective love surges through her, a fire that burns away her exhaustion. It is a love so potent, it is practically a physical force. She picks up her purse and her second uniform. A catering company, a one-night gig at some obscenely lavish charity gala. It will pay enough for the medicine. The rent will have to wait. Survival is a game of triage. The gala is held in a ballroom that looks like it was carved from a diamond. Chandeliers weep crystals of light onto a sea of silk and jewels. The air hums with the sound of manufactured laughter and the clinking of champagne flutes. To Ilara, it feels like another planet. She moves through the crowd with a tray of canapes, keeping her eyes down, perfecting her invisibility. Damien is there. He detests these events, these pageants of preening peacocks, but his presence is a necessity, a display of power. He stands in a shadowed alcove, a predator observing a herd of oblivious prey. Beside him, draped in emeralds and entitlement, is Isabella Thorne, his fiancée. The engagement is a business arrangement, a strategic merger of two old money families. Isabella is beautiful, cruel, and utterly vapid. She is a perfect queen for his empty kingdom, a flawless piece of decorative ice. He tolerates her. Isabella is bored. She snaps her fingers at a young waitress, a girl no older than Ilara, who fumbles a glass. Red wine splashes onto Isabella's pristine white gown. A collective gasp ripples through the nearby guests. The girl freezes, her face draining of all colour. "I'm so sorry, miss, Isabella's smile is a slash of crimson malice. "Sorry? You clumsy little cow. Do you have any idea how much this dress costs? It's more than your entire pathetic life is worth." Her voice is high and sharp, designed to cut, to humiliate. She grabs the girl's wrist, her nails digging in. "You will pay for this. I will have you fired. I will have you blacklisted from every service job in this city." The girl begins to sob, her body trembling. The crowd watches, a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. No one moves. No one dares to intervene. From his alcove, Damien watches, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. He despises such public displays of petty cruelty. It is inefficient, messy, but then something unexpected happens. Ilara, who has been watching from a few feet away, steps forward. Her heart is a frantic drum against her ribs. Her mind screams at her to stay invisible, to not get involved. But her soul, that unbreakable core of steel forged in hardship, refuses. She sees not a clumsy waitress, but herself. She sees Liam. She sees every powerless person ever crushed by the heel of someone like Isabella. She places a gentle hand on the crying girl's shoulder. She looks directly at Isabella, her gaze clear and steady. "It was an accident. Please, let her go." The world seems to stop. Isabella turns, her eyes widening in disbelief. Who is this nothing? This speck of dust daring to speak to her? "And who are you?" she sneers. Her mother. "I am someone who believes kindness costs nothing," Ilara says, her voice quiet but ringing with a conviction that cuts through the ballroom's hum. "And you are being needlessly cruel." In the shadows, Damien goes utterly still. For the first time in a decade, something has managed to pierce the thick, grey fog of his apathy. He watches this girl, this waitress in a cheap, ill-fitting uniform, stand up to a woman who could destroy her with a single phone call. She is terrified. He can see the slight tremor in her hands. But she does not back down. He sees not weakness, but a strength he has never encountered before. It is not the strength of violence or wealth. It is something purer, something unbreakable. Isabella laughs, a shrill, ugly sound. Kindness is for the weak. Now get out of my sight before I have you thrown out with the rest of the trash. She raises a hand, poised to strike Alara across the face. The hand never lands. A cold voice, quiet yet carrying the weight of absolute authority, slices through the air. Isabella! Damien steps out of the shadows. The entire ballroom seems to hold its breath. His gaze is not on his fiancée. It is fixed on Alara, an intense, searching look that seems to peel back her skin and see the very marrow of her bones. He walks forward, his movements fluid and deliberate. The crowd parts for him like the sea before a king. He stops in front of the tableau of cruelty and courage. He ignores the sobbing waitress. He ignores Isabella, whose face has paled, a flicker of fear in her eyes. He looks only at Alara. He sees the defiance in her posture, the fire in her tired eyes. He sees a single tear of pure, empathetic rage clinging to her eyelash. Without thinking, in a gesture so uncharacteristic it shocks even himself, he reaches out and gently brushes it away with his thumb. The contact is electric, a spark of warmth in his frozen world. Are you all right? He asks, his voice softer than anyone has ever heard it. Alara can only nod, her throat tight. Damien turns his gaze to Isabella. The temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. The coldness is back, a polar ice cap descending upon them all. We are finished, he says. It is not an argument, it is a verdict. Isabella's jaw drops. What? Damien, darling, over this thing. She's a servant. She has more integrity in her little finger than you have in your entire surgically enhanced body, he states, his voice flat. He turns to his own security detail, who have materialized at his side. Escort Miss Thorne from the premises. Her access to all my properties is revoked. Her credit lines are to be frozen. Effective immediately. He has just destroyed her. Socially, financially, utterly. And he did it with less emotion than ordering a cup of coffee. He then turns to the hotel manager, who is scurrying over, his face a mask of terror. Ensure this young lady, he says, nodding to the first waitress, receives a bonus and an apology. And this one, his eyes land on Alara again, is not to be troubled by anyone. He holds Ilara's gaze for a moment longer. He sees her confusion, her fear, her stubborn pride. He sees a light he thought had been extinguished from the world forever. Then he turns and walks away, leaving a stunned, silent ballroom in his wake. Alara's shift ends in a daze. She is sent home early, her pockets full of a night's pay she feels she did not earn. The city streets are a blur. She replays the moment over and over. The cold fury in Isabella's eyes, the terrifying calm of the man in the midnight suit, the impossible, gentle touch of his thumb on her cheek. She arrives at her apartment building, her key fumbling in the lock. As the door swings open, a shape detaches itself from the shadows of the hallway. A man, impossibly large, blocking her path. It is Julian. Her blood runs cold. She thinks of Isabella's threat, of being blacklisted, of being thrown out with the trash. This is it. This is the other shoe dropping. Miss Vance, Julian says. His voice is a low rumble, devoid of malice, but heavy with purpose. Mr. Blackwood wishes to speak with you. He has a proposition. Fear wars with desperation. She thinks of Liam's medicine, the eviction notice. She has no choice. She has never had a choice. She nods, a small jerky movement. Where? Now, Julian says, gesturing to a black armoured car idling at the curb, its tinted windows like the eyes of some great sleeping beast. The ride is silent. Elara sits on the supple leather, a world away from the cracked vinyl of a city bus. The car glides through the city, moving from her world of grit and decay into his world of steel and light. They arrive at the tower she saw from a distance, the one that pierces the clouds. Damien's office is even more intimidating up close. The city sprawls beneath them, a carpet of glittering jewels. It makes her feel small, insignificant. He sits behind a desk of polished obsidian, a king on a throne. He gestures for her to sit, and she does, perching on the edge of a chair that probably costs more than her apartment. "You are in trouble, Elara Vance," he begins, his voice as smooth and cold as the marble floor. He slides a file across the desk. It's her life, distilled into paper, her overdue bills, Liam's medical records, the eviction notice. He knows everything. "I can make it all disappear," he says. "Your debt, your brother's medical expenses. I will provide you with a home, security, a life you cannot imagine." Elara's heart pounds. There is always a price. "What do you want?" "I have a daughter," he says, his voice changing, a subtle crack in the ice. "Her name is Lily. She is fragile. She has not spoken in 2 years. She needs a companion, someone to be with her, someone kind." He looks at her, and for the first time, she sees something beyond the cold indifference. A flicker of pain. A desperate plea, hidden in the depths of his frozen eyes. The nannies, the therapists, they are employees. They see her as a job. They are afraid of me, and she can feel it. But you, he pauses, you are not afraid of the things you should be. You stood up to Isabella Thorne for a stranger. You showed a courage that money cannot buy. The offer hangs in the air, shimmering and dangerous, a gilded cage. "I want you to come and live at my estate. You will care for Lily. In return, I will solve all your problems." He leans forward, his gaze pinning her in place. "But there are rules. You will live in my house. You will answer to me. You will not ask questions about my business or the men you see. You will be discreet. You will be loyal. In essence, Elara, you will belong to me." The words send a shiver down her spine. Belong to me. It sounds like a prison sentence. But then she sees Liam's face in her mind, his struggle for breath. She sees the red letters of the eviction notice. Her world is already a prison, one with walls of poverty and despair closing in. His is just a different kind of cage, a much more comfortable one. She lifts her chin, the same spark of defiance he saw at the gala flashing in her eyes. "My brother, he comes with me, or he is moved to the best private hospital with round-the-clock care. That is my condition." A slow smile touches Damien's lips. It does not reach his eyes, but it is there. He is intrigued. She is negotiating with him. No one negotiates with him. "Done," he says without hesitation. He will have the best care in the country, a suite at the Northwood Medical Center, starting tonight. He stands and extends a hand. "Do we have a deal, Miss Vance?" She looks at his hand, then back at his face. She is making a deal with the devil, but the devil is offering her brother a chance to live. She places her small, chapped hand in his. His grip is firm, cool, and possessive. "We have a deal, Mr. Blackwood. The Blackwood estate is not a home. It is a fortress, a sprawling monster of grey stone and bulletproof glass, set amidst 100 acres of manicured wilderness, surrounded by a wall high enough to keep the world out, or a person in. Armed guards patrol the perimeter, their faces as hard and unforgiving as the stone of the house itself. Elara arrives with nothing but a small bag of clothes. Julian had already arranged for Liam to be transferred to the hospital, a place of quiet luxury and cutting-edge medicine that made her weep with relief. Now, standing before the massive oak doors of her new prison, the reality of her bargain sinks in. The interior is as cold and imposing as the exterior. Vast, echoing halls, floors polished to a mirror shine, furniture that looks like it belongs in a museum, untouched by human hands. It is silent, a beautiful, opulent tomb. A stern-faced housekeeper shows Elara to her room, a suite larger than her entire apartment, with a bed that feels like a cloud and a bathroom clad in Italian marble. It is a cage, but it is a gilded one. The next morning, she meets Lily. The little girl is sitting in a playroom filled with every toy imaginable, yet she touches none of them. She is a perfect porcelain doll, with wide, haunted eyes and a silence that feels heavier than the house itself. She does not look at Elara when she enters. Elara's heart aches for her. This child is not fragile. She is drowning in grief, lost in a world without her mother. With a father who is a ghost, Elara doesn't try to force a connection. She doesn't use the bright, false tones of the nannies Damien had described. She simply sits on the floor a few feet away and begins to read a book aloud. Her voice soft and steady. It's a worn copy of a fairy tale she used to read to Liam. For hours, she sits there, reading. Lily does not move, does not acknowledge her, but she does not leave either. Paragraphs dash, paragraphs, days turn into weeks. Elara establishes a quiet routine. She reads to Lily. She brings a small vase of wildflowers she found on the grounds into the sterile playroom, a tiny splash of untamed life. She hums old lullabies her mother used to sing. She never demands a response. She simply offers her presence, a calm, steady island in the girl's silent sea. Damien watches. From his office, he has access to a network of hidden cameras that cover the entire estate. He watches Elara with his daughter. He sees her patience, her gentleness. He sees her coax a tiny ghost of a smile from Lily when she makes a funny face. He sees her hold the little girl's hand as they walk in the garden, a simple act of contact no one else had managed. A strange, unfamiliar feeling begins to stir in the chasm of his chest. It is a dangerous warmth, a thawing of a permafrost he thought was eternal. He finds himself walking through the halls just for a chance to pass her, to catch the scent of lavender and soap that clings to her, a stark contrast to the sterile scent of his home. Their interactions are brief, stilted. "How is she today?" he might ask, his voice gruff. "She ate all her lunch," Elara will reply, her eyes on the floor. "She liked the story about the dragon." He feels a pull towards her, an attraction to the light she carries within her, but he resists it. She is an employee, a tool to fix his broken child. She is a complication he cannot afford. But his gaze lingers on her longer than it should. One afternoon, Elara is searching for a specific book for Lily. The housekeeper tells her some of the older children's books are stored in the basement. She makes her way down a set of stone steps into a vast, cool cellar, lined with wine racks and storage crates. As she looks for the box of books, she hears a sound, a tiny, muffled sob. Her blood freezes. She follows the sound to a heavy, reinforced door at the far end of the cellar. A panic room. It is locked from the outside. The sobbing is coming from within. "Lily!" she calls out, her voice trembling. "Lily, is that you?" A small, terrified whimper is the only reply. Panic claws at Elara's throat. She rattles the handle, but it's solid steel. She beats on the door with her fists. "Somebody! Help! Julian!" Footsteps thunder down the stairs. Not Julian. It is Isabella Thorne. Elara reels back, shocked. She had assumed Isabella was long gone, but she stands there, dressed in silk lounging pajamas, a cruel, triumphant smirk on her face. "Looking for the little brat," Isabella says, examining her nails. She was being disobedient. Threw her food on the floor. A child needs discipline. Daddy is far too soft on her. Pure, unadulterated rage, cold and sharp, cuts through Elara's fear. "You locked a child in a panic room? Are you insane? Open this door, now." Isabella laughs. "I don't think so. A few hours in the dark will teach her some manners. And it will teach you your place. You are the help. Do not forget it." Apparently, Damien's public dismissal had not meant an immediate eviction. He had allowed her a few days to pack her things, a final cold courtesy, a mistake he would soon regret. Just then, the sound of the main cellar door opening echoes through the space. Damien Blackwood stands at the top of the stairs, his face a thundercloud. He had come home early, a rare occurrence, driven by an inexplicable urge to see his daughter, to see Elara. He takes in the scene in an instant. Elara, her face pale with fury, standing before the panic room door. Isabella, smug and defiant. The faint, terrified sound of his daughter crying. Something inside him snaps. The carefully constructed walls of ice and control that have defined his entire existence do not just crack, they vaporize. He descends the stairs, not walking, but flowing like a river of death. The air grows heavy, electric. Isabella's smirk falters, replaced by a dawning horror as she sees the look in his eyes. It is an expression she has never seen. It is the promise of utter annihilation. "What did you do?" he asks, his voice a whisper of pure, distilled venom. Isabella, trying to brazen it out, gestures to the door. The girl was being a monster. She needed to be taught a lesson. It's for her own good. That is her explanation. That is the reason his silent, traumatized child is locked in a dark, soundproof box. He doesn't look at her again. He turns to Elara, his eyes blazing with a terrifying fire. "Get back," he commands. He pulls a small, flat device from his pocket and presses it to the electronic lock. The heavy door clicks open. Lily is huddled in the corner, her small body shaking uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face. She doesn't even look up as the door opens. Elara rushes in, scooping the child into her arms, murmuring soft words of comfort, shielding her from the horror of the scene. Lily clings to her, burying her face in Elara's neck, her sobs racking her tiny frame. Damien turns back to Isabella. His face is a mask of terrifying calm, the stillness at the eye of a hurricane. He pulls out his phone. He dials a single number. Julian answers on the first ring. "Julian," Damien says, his voice lethally soft. "Call my men. All of them. Tell them to come to the house. Now." He pauses. "And lock down the estate. No one gets in. And no one." His eyes lock on Isabella, who has started to tremble violently. "Gets out." He hangs up. The finality of the words hangs in the air, like the smell of ozone after a lightning strike. But before Julian can even respond, before the horror of Isabella's fate can fully register, the world explodes. A deafening blast rocks the foundation of the house, sending a shower of dust and debris down from the cellar ceiling. The lights flicker and die, plunging them into near darkness, illuminated only by the red glow of emergency strobes that kick in an instant later. Alarms blare, a chaotic symphony of destruction. The sound of automatic gunfire erupts from upstairs, a brutal, percussive rhythm of death. The attack has begun. The betrayal is absolute. Marcus, Damien's cousin and most trusted lieutenant, had seen the growing obsession his boss had with the new caretaker. He saw the distraction, and he had made a deal with a rival family, the Morettis, who had been waiting for a moment of weakness. Isabella's petty cruelty was the unplanned, perfect diversion. Marcus had lowered a section of the estate's perimeter defenses, feeding false information to the security hub just minutes before Damien's arrival. He had opened the gates of hell. In the cellar, Damien's mind works with chilling speed. This isn't a random assault. It's coordinated. An inside job. He shoves the immediate questions aside. Survival comes first. He turns to Alara, who is shielding Lily with her entire body, her face a mask of fierce, protective terror. "Stay behind me," he orders, his voice cutting through the din. He produces a handgun from an ankle holster, the movement fluid and practiced. He is no longer a businessman. He is the monster they whisper about in the underworld. Isabella screams, a shrill, useless sound of panic. "Do something! Save me!" Damien doesn't even glance at her. His world has narrowed to two people. The woman and the child huddled behind him. They are his only priority. Two figures in tactical gear appear at the top of the stairs, rifles raised. They are not his men. Damien fires twice. Two precise shots. The figures drop without a sound. He is already moving, pushing Alara and Lily towards a section of the wine cellar. There's a tunnel behind this rack. It leads to the woods. Go. But more men are pouring in, cutting off their escape. They are trapped. Gunfire echoes in the enclosed space, deafening and visceral. Bullets chip away at the stone walls. Damien uses a massive wine rack as cover, returning fire with deadly accuracy. He is outnumbered, but he is a far more efficient killer. Alara huddles in a corner, Lily's face buried in her chest, trying to muffle the terrifying sounds. Her heart is a jackhammer. This is a nightmare. A world of violence she cannot comprehend. One of the attackers, seeing Damien pinned down, breaks from cover and makes a run for Alara and the child. He sees the value in the hostages. His rifle comes up, aimed not at her, but at Damien. A kill shot. Everything slows down. Alara sees the man. She sees the black hole of the rifle's muzzle. She sees Damien, exposed for a split second as he reloads. There is no time to think. There is only instinct. An instinct born of a love she is only just beginning to understand. She does not scream. She does not cower. With Lily clutched in one arm, she lunges for a heavy, magnum-sized bottle of champagne from a shattered rack beside her. She swings it with all the force of her adrenaline-fueled body. The bottle connects with the side of the attacker's head with a sickening crunch. He stumbles, his shot going wide, shattering a row of bottles on the far wall. He looks at her, his eyes wide with surprise, before he collapses to the ground, unconscious. Damien turns, his reload complete, just in time to see her act of impossible bravery. He sees her standing over the fallen man, chest heaving, her eyes blazing with a warrior's fire. She just saved his life. This invisible girl, this gentle soul, had just entered his world of violence and fought back. The stalemate is broken by the arrival of reinforcements. Julian, followed by a team of Damien's elite guards, storms the cellar, their weapons opening up a disciplined, overwhelming wave of fire that cuts down the remaining attackers in seconds. The battle is over. The silence that follows is more shocking than the noise. It is a silence thick with the smell of gunpowder and blood. The cellar is a war zone, littered with bodies and shattered glass. Julian moves to Damien's side, his face grim. The house is secure. Marcus is gone. He disabled the east perimeter. The betrayal is confirmed. Damien nods, his face grim. But his attention is not on the traitor or the dead. His eyes are fixed on Alara. She is still holding Lily, her body trembling with the aftershocks of terror and adrenaline. She looks at the man she just knocked out, then at the blood and chaos around her, a look of dawning horror on her face. He walks towards her, his movements stiff, as if his legs might not hold him. He ignores Isabella, who is weeping hysterically in a corner. He ignores Julian. He ignores the bodies of the men he just killed. He stops in front of her. He looks at her face, smudged with dust and grime. He looks at his daughter, safe in her arms. A wave of emotion, so powerful it threatens to drown him, crashes through his defenses. It is terror. The gut-wrenching, soul-shredding terror of almost losing them. He reaches out, his hand shaking slightly, and cups her cheek. His thumb traces the line of her jaw. "I thought I lost you," he whispers, his voice raw, stripped of all its ice and authority. "I thought I lost you both." And then he does something he has not done in years. He closes the distance between them and kisses her. It is not a gentle kiss. It is not tender or romantic. It is a desperate, possessive act of claiming. It is the kiss of a man who has stared into the abyss and seen his only light about to be extinguished. It is fierce, hungry, tasting of gunpowder and fear, and a desperate, overwhelming relief. It is a brand, a vow, a declaration. Ilara is too stunned to react at first. But then, as his desperation communicates itself to her, as she feels the frantic beat of his heart against hers, something inside her responds. She leans into him, her hand coming up to grip his arm, holding on as if he is the only solid thing in a world that has just been ripped apart. He pulls back, his forehead resting against hers, his breathing ragged. His eyes, no longer frozen lakes, are blazing infernos. "You are mine, Ilara," he says, his voice a low, guttural promise. "Mine to protect. I will burn this city to the ground if anyone ever tries to touch you or this child again." He looks down at the contract that brought her here, now a laughable formality in the face of the blood they just spilled together. "The arrangement is over. You are not my employee. You are not a caretaker." He takes Lily gently from her arms, holding his daughter close. Then he takes Ilara's hand, his grip unbreakable. "You are the queen of this house. You are the lady of this family. You are everything." In the bloody aftermath of the siege, a new reign begins. The purge is swift and biblical in its fury. Damian Blackwood, with his soul reawakened by the terror of near loss, unleashes the full, terrifying extent of his power. He is no longer a disinterested force of nature. He is a vengeful god, and his rage is aimed at two targets, the Moretti family and the traitor, Marcus. He does not sleep. He does not rest. Fueled by caffeine and a cold, focused wrath, he directs his empire from a makeshift war room set up in his blood-stained library. Julian is his instrument, carrying out his orders with brutal efficiency. The Moretti family's assets are frozen first, their digital fortunes erased in a cascade of keystrokes by hackers Damian keeps on a silent retainer. Their shipping containers are seized at ports, their illicit cargo replaced with bricks. Their safe houses are raided, not by police, but by Damian's men, who move like ghosts and leave only empty rooms and terrified whispers behind. Damian orchestrates the entire symphony of destruction from his leather chair, a phone to his ear, his eyes occasionally flicking to the security monitor that shows Ilara sleeping in her chair by Lily's bedside. That image is his fuel. As for Isabella, her fate is a quiet, cold sort of damnation. Damian makes a single phone call. Her family's long-hidden financial sins are leaked to federal authorities. Their name becomes synonymous with fraud. She is left with nothing. No money, no status, no future. He erases her from his world as easily as one deletes a file. She is not even worthy of his violence. The final piece is Marcus, his cousin, the man who ate at his table and played with his daughter. They find him cowering in an offshore casino, believing he is safe. Damian doesn't send Julian. He goes himself. He finds Marcus at a baccarat table, trying to gamble away the nervous energy. When Damien sits down opposite him, the color drains from Marcus's face. The casino's ambient noise seems to fade away. "You look surprised to see me, cousin," Damien says, his voice dangerously pleasant. Marcus starts to stammer, to lie. Damien holds up a hand, silencing him. "Let me tell you what you did. You didn't just betray me. You endangered my daughter. You put You put her life at risk. For what? Money? A seat at the head of the Moretti's table. They promised me everything, Damien. Power." Damien smiles, and it is the scariest thing Marcus has ever seen. It is a predator's smile. "A wise man once told me that the second most powerful man in a kingdom is the one who advises the king. The most powerful man, of course, is the king. But the most foolish man is the one who tries to kill the king and fails." He slides a single polished bullet across the felt of the table. The Morettis are gone. Their power is a memory. And you, Marcus, have an important decision to make. You can use this bullet yourself, here and now, with what little honor you have left. Or you can wait for Julian to come for you. He is feeling, creative after the attack. Damien stands up, straightens his jacket, and walks away without looking back. He does not need to. The outcome is certain. He has re-established his dominance not through brute force alone, but through absolute, terrifying control. The whispers in the underworld change. Damien Blackwood is no longer just a king. He is a legend. A monster you do not provoke. 6 months pass. A time jump that allows the blood to be washed from the marble floors and the scent of cordite to fade from the air. The estate is no longer a fortress. It is slowly becoming a home. Elara has filled the silent halls with life. There are flowers in vases. The smell of baking cookies sometimes drifts from the kitchen. Laughter, Lily's laughter, can be heard in the gardens. The child's silence had been broken in the aftermath of the attack. Her first word a whispered, "Elara," as she clung to her savior. Now she chatters away, her trauma receding in the face of unwavering love and security. Elara herself is transformed. The timid, invisible waitress is gone. In her place is a woman of quiet confidence and grace. She wears simple but elegant clothes, a gift from Damien, but her true power comes from within. She is the heart of the home, the anchor of their small family. The staff, who once saw her as an interloper, now treat her with a deep, abiding respect. She is their queen, not by title, but by her nature. The biggest transformation, however, is in Damien. The cold, emotional barrenness has been replaced by a fierce, devoted tenderness. He still runs his empire with ruthless efficiency, but his motivations have changed. Power is no longer the goal. It is the tool he uses to protect his family. He comes home for dinner every night. He reads Lily bedtime stories, his deep voice a calming rumble. He seeks out Elara's opinion on everything, from business decisions to the color of new curtains. He watches her with an expression of such profound love and awe that it silences any who might question her place at his side. The monster has found his humanity. The city is hosting its annual Founders Gala, the same event where their worlds first collided. Last year, Elara had served canapes there. This year, she will attend on Damien's arm. She stands before a mirror, looking at her reflection. A woman she barely recognizes is staring back. She wears a gown the color of a midnight sky, dusted with tiny diamonds that glitter like stars. Her hair is styled in an elegant cascade, and a simple, stunning sapphire necklace. A gift from Damien rests at her throat. She looks beautiful. She looks powerful. But as she looks into her own eyes, she sees the same soul. the same heart that stood up for a crying stranger. Damien enters the room and stops, his breath catching in his throat. He has seen her in simple cotton dresses and in sleep-tousled disarray. He has seen her terrified and covered in dust, but seeing her like this, radiating a confident beauty that eclipses every jewel in the room, undoes him. "You are," he says, his voice thick with emotion, "the most beautiful thing I have ever seen." He walks to her and takes her hands. "Are you ready for this?" She smiles, a genuine, luminous smile that makes his heart ache. "As long as I'm with you." Their arrival at the gala causes a sensation. The whispers follow them like a wave. Damien Blackwood, the city's dark king, and the mysterious, stunning woman on his arm. They are a vision of power and unity. He moves through the crowd with his old authority, but now there is a warmth to him, a subtle relaxation in his posture. He is no longer a solitary predator. He is the guardian of his pride. During the evening, Alara excuses herself for a moment. As she walks through a less crowded corridor, she sees a young waitress, her hands trembling as she tries to balance a heavy tray of glasses. A sneering guest is berating her for being too slow. It's like looking into a time machine. Alara walks over. The guest, a woman dripping in diamonds, turns to snap at her, then freezes as she recognizes who she is. The woman's face pales. "Miss Vance." Alara ignores her. She turns to the waitress, whose eyes are wide with fear. Alara offers her a warm, reassuring smile. "It's all right," she says softly. "Let me help you with that." She takes the tray from the girl's shaking hands, her movements steady and sure. "Take a deep breath. You're doing a wonderful job." She hands the tray back to the girl, her hand briefly covering hers. It is a small gesture of solidarity, of grace, an act that proves that becoming a queen has not made her forget what it was like to be a pauper. She has retained her soul. Damien has watched the entire exchange from a distance. The love he feels for her is so immense, it feels like it might crack his ribs. Her strength is not in cruelty or command, but in this, in her unbreakable kindness. He walks to her side, slipping his arm around her waist. He gives the diamond-clad guest a look so cold it could freeze fire, and the woman scurries away. He looks down at Alara. "That is why I love you," he says, his voice a low murmur, meant only for her. "You are better than all of them. You are better than me." Later that night, they are home. The grand estate is quiet. They stand in Lily's doorway, watching her sleep, her face peaceful in the soft glow of a nightlight. A stuffed dragon is clutched in her arms. The house is no longer a cold, sterile fortress. It is a sanctuary, a home filled with the echoes of a little girl's laughter and the scent of wildflowers. Damien leads Alara to the balcony of their bedroom, which overlooks the sprawling, dark gardens. The city glitters in the distance, his kingdom. But he is not looking at it. He is looking at her. He takes her in his arms, holding her as if she is the most precious thing in the universe. And to him, she is. The architect of ruin, the monster who commanded fear and lived in shadows, is gone. In his place is a man, a husband, a father. His empire of darkness has found its light. His silent, empty castle has found its heart. He had been a king ruling over a kingdom of ashes, but the unbreakable dove had shown him how to build a world from love. And in her arms, under the quiet, watchful stars, he was finally, completely at peace.